Hey everyone, welcome to this edition of the Animated Girls Profiles Confidential. And I'm here to talk about, well, the character you see in front of me, I don't think needs any introduction because very recently this character celebrated a birthday. More importantly, her opposite, um, her male counterpart, if you will, celebrated a birthday, but she along with it. That is Minnie Mouse. And Minnie Mouse has been here, has basically become a huge, huge icon. There's no doubt about it. I mean, when you take a look at Minnie Mouse, I don't think anything else could be said about this character. I mean, true, back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and early 50s, early to mid 50s, anytime she would star in an animated short, it would be along with Mickey Mouse or it'd be along with Mickey, Donald, Goofy, but never on her own. And anytime she did get a chance to star on her own, she was always playing a co-star or second fiddle to either Pluto or Figaro. And it wasn't until later on that she really started to get her chance, to really start to get her fair share. You see, in the 1980s is when Minnie really started to take off for some reason, just like she's starting to take off again now. You see, in the 1980s, around the mid to late 80s, Disney decided to make Minnie Mouse a focus of who they were. They decided to make her the focus for, I guess, building towards female equality or something like that. I don't really remember what the reason was. I think it was mostly because I think mainly the main reason was they needed a character that could be relatable as hip and with it. And Minnie basically, I think, was the more iconic choice. Now they could have gone with Daisy or somebody else, but they went with Minnie. From a female perspective, she was the most iconic choice and the most recognizable choice. And she was. Minnie Mouse basically made the 80s her domain. The 1980s were known for a lot of things when it came to Minnie Mouse, mostly due to the fact that she had a primetime special aired in syndication, I believe. Maybe network television, I can't remember, but I know it was syndication called Totally Minnie. This was basically a hybrid of animation and live action. And the story centered around a nerdy guy trying to be hip and cool, and Minnie, along with Suzanne Summers, I believe, tried to help out in that area. So by trying to help out in that area, in the long run, they ended up making this nerdy individual hip and cool, I guess you could say. Totally Minnie, which again, so far is her only primetime special, Totally Minnie was sort of like a hybrid, like I said, of live action and animation, but it was also kind of like a hybrid of DTV. DTV at the time was Disney's equivalent to MTV. The only difference was DTV was kind of like what you see with fanvids today at YouTube, Dailymotion, Vimeo, you name it. Mostly it was some of the most popular songs of the 50s, 60s, 70s, and even 80s put together, put to a music video consisting of clips from various Disney animated movies, shorts, and even a few live action. But getting back on point here, that's what Totally Minnie was. And it was basically the centerpiece for Disney's campaign being hip and with it, and Disney being and Minnie Mouse being the face of that campaign. Now, of course, in between there, Minnie had appeared elsewhere. Of course, she appeared as as Emily Cratchit, I believe, or whatever Bob Cratchit's wife was, in Mickey's Christmas Carol. She was Mrs. Cratchit. She appeared, of course, in, well, the well, she appeared basically the the costume park, or the person that's always in the costume. Well, basically she appeared in Mouse's size, basically the person that's always, the people that walk around in the costumes and all that. Well, they had one specifically made for Mouse's size, so she was there. And I think there was maybe one or two, a few episodes that had her being like a central, like one of the helping one of the characters that was helping out for most of the show. Now, she has made appearances along with her other, Disney characters. Of course, Disney on Ice is a good example of that. And she even, from what I saw, and maybe because I know I'm not dreaming this, I don't know how they did this. I think Disney on Ice was in town at the time. I'm not really sure. But in Kansas City, during the Christmas light up, they had Mickey and Minnie Mouse there to help light the tree. And we're not talking some imitations. We're talking the real, like in the park Disney characters of Mickey and Minnie. They were there. So that was kind of cool. Now, as the time went on, Minnie and Mickey, they would star together in another animated short called Runaway Brain. A lot of people, I guess, were kind of shocked that she wasn't in The Prince and the Pauper, but she was in Runaway Brain, which was pretty good. And it kind of showed that she had more personality, more character than normally conceived. And so, several years later, Disney decides to revive the Mickey Mouse and Disney shorts through a new series called Mickey's Mouseworks. And surprisingly, Minnie ended up getting several Mousework shorts. Sometimes she'd co-star along with Daisy, and sometimes she'd be on her own. Heck, they gave her little shorts called Maestro Minnie, which was pretty cool. And those shorts right there, along with what we had seen previously in Runaway Brain and several other cases, showed that Minnie was more than just a pretty face. She was more than just the love interest of Mickey Mouse. She had personality, she had character, she had charisma. So, so those shorts on Mickey's Mouseworks, and then later integrated into House of Mouse, in which she also had a sort of a starring role, because again, that showcased more of what she was, really helped solidify Minnie Mouse. And then, of course, later on, you had the Disney Junior shows like Mickey's Clubhouse, which again she was able to shine in her own way, which led basically to her getting a spin-off show or a spin-off series called Disney's Bow Ties, if you will. Minnie's Bow Ties or Bow Tunes, whatever you want to call them. And it's just gone on from there. Yes, she's also part in a major way or semi-major way with the new Mickey Mouse shorts, which are basically sort of a modern take or remake of the classic 20s and 30s shorts, but in a more modern style and with more of a risque. I'm not saying adult risque, but more of, let's say, a sort of on the lines almost of Ren and Stimpy, kind of like, the good. According to a lot of people, they capture the essence of what made Mickey and Minnie and all of them funny and all that. But it goes a little further than that at times. And, there are certain things that, it goes with that some people question, but it's still very popular. Minnie would also go on to star in other things as well. She starred, of course, she co-starred in both Mickey Christmas movies, Once Upon a Christmas and its sequel, Twice Upon a Christmas. She starred with Mickey in the final short, which was a take on The Gift of Magi. And then she starred in one of the first shorts in the sequel, which was which was supposed to be kind of like a skate recital for Christmas. A Christmas skate recital with Daisy, which turned out to be more of a competition till the end when they figured out, hey, we're supposed to be doing this together. We're not supposed to be against each other. We're supposed to be helping each other. So, she's had her shot. She's had her opportunity. And I still believe there's more to come with this character, because when you go into my store, or you go into a Toys R Us, you go into a Target, and you go into the toy sections, well, Toys R Us is mostly old toys, but you get the idea. There's going to be, at Walmart, Target, Kmart, there's going to be a small section in the kind of, I guess you could say, the girls' toy section, if you will, the girls' toy section. There's going to be those areas that are marked off with these, I guess you could say, signs, these logos of which franchise is in that area. And Minnie has her own for her bow tune. So it's Disney's Minnie. So Minnie has her own area. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool if you're a fan. She has her own area. And on top of that, like I said, she has done so much. I mean, she's even officially, semi-officially, became a Disney princess. Maybe not on the lines of the Disney princesses that we know, but she is basically was given the honor of being a Disney princess when she starred as one in their take of the Three Musketeers, Mickey and Donald and Goofy and the Three Musketeers. She was the princess in that movie. So, in a sense, that movie unofficially / officially made her a Disney princess. Again, maybe not along the lines of an Ariel, Elsa, an Anna, or a Belle, or whatever, but it made her, in a sense, a Disney princess. And again, there's so much more I think is going to be done with this character. Like I said in one video, I asked the question, when and where is Disney ever going to marry off her and Mickey? When is the time coming? Are they planning it? Or they plan to just have them date for the longest of times? I do not know. But I do know this. When and if they ever come up with that idea to marry them off, and I believe it's going to be in a feature film, I just believe it is. They better, Disney, if they're smart, better give Minnie a huge, and I mean not just a semi-role, here and there, and it's just Mickey and maybe Donald Goofy. No, I'm talking giving her a major role. They better do that. Because if that's going to be centered around maybe the marriage of the two, they better do it. That's all I'm going to say. But, Minnie Mouse's fan base, I'll say this, is really huge. It may not seem like that to a lot of people, but it is. She's one of the, if you look online, you research this, she's one of the most requested Disney park characters ever. One of the, if not the most requested. Why? Because I think, in my opinion, they can relate to Minnie. Like, Minnie's very relatable in many ways. Like, they see Minnie Mouse, and they see that more has been done with her to kind of keep her with the times, keep her hip and with it. And I think it's because of that relatability that she's one of the most sought after characters in Disney, into Disney parks. She really is. And for fans, I think it's the same way. And fans, when they do fan fiction or they do fan art with Minnie, it's like, how do I put this? The stories they come up with are good. The fan art they come up with is good, if not sometimes questionable, depending on your taste. But it shows you the fan base she has. And if that's not all, how about this? Several years ago, Disney teamed up. I don't think it was with Macy's. It was with somebody else, with some other designer clothing store in New York. They teamed up with this designer clothing store, I can't think of it, to do an animated short. Kind of a hybrid with mostly 2D, but it was mostly like a hybrid of animation and CGI. And true, some people called Disney out on it because of what they were showcasing. But as Disney pointed out, this short was mainly a fantasy, a dream Minnie was having in her mind. And yes, it was a Minnie Mouse short. But again, like I said, this was a fantasy, a dream she was having. And this came out, I think, a little after Princess and the Frog was released in theaters. So they had come up, was released in theaters, or I think was kind of in between. I think was just released in theaters or something like that. So again, Disney was called out on this, but they came out and said, look, this is a fantasy. We're not changing the characters permanently. Minnie's fantasizing. She's dreaming in her mind that this is something she'd like to do. This is something she'd like to do. So, with that said, the argument against that, or the controversy against that, went over like as the old saying goes, a fart in church. In other words, you could hear it, smell it, but then it just disappears. It dissipates. It's gone. Like, doesn't matter. It happened. And that's mainly what this was. And, there's a lot of fans out there, too, that believe more can be done with Minnie if Disney gives them the chance. They look at the new Mickey Mouse shorts and think, wow, these have such a Looney Tune-like vibe to them at times that much more can be done in a very loony way with these characters than ever has been. In fact, one person I know of on DeviantArt called ABR2000 or ABR200 drew a picture. I think it was him. Drew a picture several years ago of Minnie halfway melted into a puddle. Basically, it's like her upper torso was still up. She was still, like the upper half of her was still there, but it was dripping down a little bit, and the other part of her was completely melted. And he explained that because, in a sense, Minnie Mouse was colored black, and she kind of resembled almost like latex at times. And I know that sounds strange. Or painted like she was latex, if you will, whatever, or rubber, or whatever. That she could be acceptable to the melting. And when I looked at this, and he did a good job at it. He kind of gave a good depiction of how it could be. I thought to myself, you know what? This person, as crazy as this sounds, has a point. Minnie can be acceptable to that gag, to that melting gag, to that lustful melt gag, where she could completely melt into a puddle. And the new Mickey Mouse cartoons, to me, provide that way. I mean, heck, you've already done a short where she puts on too much perfume, and it results in her nearly getting baked into a pie. Yeah, she gets basically pulled into a bakery, flattened with a rolling pin, and turned into mush, put into a pie with her face sticking out, and almost put into a pie pan with her face sticking out, and almost put into an oven and cooked before she escapes. So yeah, if they're willing to do that with her, then I think they're willing to do more. And I could just see them doing a short where maybe Mickey or some kind of suave person kisses her and she melts into a puddle and all you see is her hat floating around in the puddle. I could see that. And I could see someone like Mickey coming up, pouring her into a funnel or a cup and restoring her. I could see that. But if they do that, but it's up to Disney if they want to do that. You know what I'm saying? So, to me, I do agree with my fellow DeviantArt person there that she is acceptable. She has the potential to do that kind of a gag. But it shows you overall how fans feel that so much more can be done with Minnie Mouse. Yes, a lot has been done, but so much more can be done. And that's a fact. That is a true fact. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed this edition of the Animated Girls Profiles.